Hello friends, Namaste. Here's my another video on research methodology for beginners. This video was requested by many of the undergraduate students who are doing this research methodology as a course in the final year, plus who are working on some projects in groups, working on some fact findings. Now, to make the life easy, I've created a very short video which talks about the research process, which will help you to get the familiar concepts as well as to get some practical know-how on how to do a research in a systematic way. So before we start with the research process, I would like to make you understand in an easy way the 6 steps of the research process. What is research? Research is a systematic way of investigating any problems to find a solution, to find the truth, fact finding. Now, when I said a systematic investigation, it requires certain steps to be followed. If you see here, first step is the problem definition. Problem definition is how we arise to a significant area where we can research on. And to come up with a definition, with a statement, you need to do a proper literature review. So hence, if you can see in this process chart which I have made for you, is problem definition and literature review are interlinked, interconnected. And then if you see that the literature review helps you to get a clarity of whatever problem you want to address by citing other authors' work. I will be helping you out in understanding each concept very clearly. So just let me tell you that there are 6 steps in a research process. The first one is problem definition. Second is literature review. Third is selection of a research design. Fourth is data collection. Fifth is your data processing and analysis. And the last, sixth, is the conclusion and the report writing. So all these things, if a researcher does in a systematic way, the research will be the exact format which is expected in the academia. So without much ado, I will explain each and every these 6 steps in a very detailed format. So let us dive into it. Now the first step, problem definition. What is problem definition is you are identifying a research topic or the problems which you have seen by yourself, but you need to substantiate by doing a proper literature review for that. Hence, you need to brainstorm your ideas with your teachers, with your peers, and read it out what has been published by the other authors through their papers. So, as I'm saying, literature review, that is the second step. Anything which is published in electronic format, in um, hard format, paper format, or which can be unpublished also, is considered as a literature. But it has been done by some other authors. So when I'm saying published papers like scientific papers which are available in the journals, your report, thesis which are available in the college, in the universities, and the report data which is available by the government, it is called as white papers. Okay, and unpublished data would be like reports which are kept in the any department of government or universities, which is not available on the web. That also can be referred to as literatures. Then other websites which are there whether it can be a reviewed means which has been seen and corrected by multiple reviewers. So you can refer to websites, you can refer to various videos, you can refer to various statistics which are available on the web. So when you refer to a literature and you identify some gaps, some problems which are not addressed by those researchers and you want to address it in your research. Okay, so when I'm saying problems, how you can identify the gaps and the problems is from the limitations. So anything which is left out in any paper, the author themselves will write that this is the limiting factor of my work. Say for example, any author is working on women empowerment in service sector in some city, maybe some in Bangalore, and the author has said that this is a limiting factor of his study, that he has done a research only on women empowerment in Bangalore, and that too in service industry. So this thing can be picked by you as a researcher and said as a gap and can be addressed that women empowerment studies are required to be done on a larger scale. Okay, and these things is generally picked from the research methodology, that is the third step of a research process. So whatever author work is a limiting factor in their methodology, in their research design, you pick that thing as a limitation and which has not been solved, you'd say that I will be doing in my research. So that becomes your problem definition. So if you see when I'm hovering my mouse, whether it is visible or not, I'm not sure. With all this literature review, you will formulate a problem, a gap through the limitations of others' work, and then you make it very clear that this will be my aim, my goal of my research, which I, or in the group, if you're doing a group project, the group will be addressing to it. So make it very specific and clear. You have to make it very, very concrete with in your field. Say in say for my examples, if you're working in commerce and management field, pick some relevant problems from your area. If you're working in service industry, pick from that area. If you're working in tourism, if you're working in arts, engineering, pick any topic which has not been fully solved or is being left by various authors and which you can address in your research. So do a proper literature review, cite those authors' name, that this has not been done by them and you will be doing it. Then go for your own studies, whatever you find which is available in your universities or in your labs, and just identify some gaps and bring in as a major problem statement which will be addressing it. So that becomes your second part of your research process. Based on this, you will be doing your research design. So when you make your things very specific, very clear, your research design, that is the blueprint of your research, what you will be doing, how you will be doing, on whom you will be doing, where you will be doing, that becomes very easy. So if you see here, your third process, that is the selection of research design, is a blueprint which I've given through this icon, is where you come up with various methods. So as I told you that the literature review is the secondary data. Okay, secondary data which is published data. Now to substantiate your research, you have to bring in your primary data. Okay, so primary data is by getting some data from your target population. Okay, so I will be explaining all these things in my next videos about sampling, about various research types, about various analysis methods. But here I will quickly tell you that there are two types of data, primary and secondary. Primary, which you collect it on your own as author. Secondary, which you browse it as a literature from other authors' work and you review it. From that, you create your problem statement. From that, you get the technical know-how. But you need to substantiate your own data by doing some kind of data collection. So what you do is you go to the market, you collect a data, some from questionnaire, field survey, pen and paper methods. Okay, All those methods comes under quantitative study. Why? Because that is more in number. Okay, so quantitative study, I have made one short video on this also. So quantitative study is where you collect from large sample size, okay, and it is more of in statistical numbers, whereas qualitative method is which is smaller sample and which you collect it through interviews, observations, focus group discussions, okay, and mixed methods are combination of these two approaches. Okay, so again I repeat, qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative method are large sample size, okay. So to make your life simple, sample is your target population. Okay. So now I gave an example of women empowerment in service sector in Bangalore. Here it is the sample are women. Okay. And which area it is? Bangalore. Okay. So this can be a quantitative study if the sample is more than 100 in number. But if the author wants to make his life little easy going with because of the time constraint, or he wants to do more into psychological studies and all, then the author can do it in a qualitative way where he will interview only some 10 to 30 sample of women in Bangalore. Okay, so this is one small and simple example I've given. The other example could be if you want to do a quantitative study of all the women in India. Okay, make it very specific in, say, e-commerce sector. And what you can do is all women in India, you have to send questionnaires, online survey to them so that you can collect the data. So this research design has to be very specific. In that you will put down your methods, you will say what methodology will incorporate, whether what type of research it will be, how you will be choosing your data, okay, the sampling techniques, and then you start collecting your data. Okay, so data collection is a very critical phase. That is the fourth process, the fourth step of research, where you start collecting your data from the target sample. Okay, sample is the selected people from the whole population. Okay, so as I said, women in Bangalore. So what I am doing is the whole population of women in India, I am selecting only women in Bangalore. That becomes my sample. Now, when I talk about these surveys, interviews, experiments, these are the methods which are being used by you to collect the primary data. Okay. And then there are some techniques which has to be incorporated, which is called as sampling technique. I will be explaining you in my next video various sampling techniques, that is simple random sampling, probability, non-probability, cluster, all these are the techniques which you need to just little understand so that you can use it in your research design, and when you are writing and presenting your research you should be little bit clear about it. Guys, I'm sorry for the background disturbance. Being Diwali, there's a lot of disturbance, but I need to complete my video, so I will proceed on it. If you have any questions, please write it on the comment box to get more clarity. So again I repeat, these sampling techniques I will be explaining you in my further videos. So please stay tuned. Okay, so here we are talking about the last two phases. That is when you already collected the data, you need to analyze the data. Okay, so say for example, I collected all these women interviews, women data from Bangalore. But what I'll do it? I have to analyze it, right? Analyze means I will put it in some statistical format, maybe percentage, mean, median. So just to give a very simple example, out of 100 women in Bangalore, how many agreed that they get the empowerment in their service industry? So if there are 60 people, 60 women who agreed, I will say 60% of them have agreed. So when we talk about this collection of data and analyzing which is the fifth process, fifth step, you need to ensure that you use it in a very systematic way, that by using some tests. Okay, so this mean median mode is a very generalized, which you would be heard about it. But when you come up with some hypotheses are assumptions which has to be done during the research design. That is the third step. As an author, you have to assume that in your study this could be the result. So when I'm saying I did a survey on empowerment of women in Bangalore, I would do some assumption that women are significantly empowered in Bangalore. This I had to prove it by some test. So if you see, using some tools or some qualitative analysis method, I have to substantiate my assumptions, whether the assumptions are accepted, rejected. Okay, one thing in keep in mind, dear friends, in research, the beauty of research is your research can be a failure also. Okay, so it's not necessary whatever you have assumed should be positive. Okay, it can be a negative results also. So this is the essence of research. So when you analyze all this data, interpret the data, the results. Okay, so data is a raw thing. When you put it as interpretation and make it as a result, you have to conclude it. And all these conclusions and all these 5 steps, you have to put it in your report. Okay, so in your report, it will start with introduction, literature review, research design, methodology, data collection, data analysis, and then last chapter is conclusion with references. So these things are essential elements of a research process. So when you will be working on a research process or a research project in your college, university, these 6 steps which I have told, you need to follow it so that you get a good results and good marks. So hope you would have understood my video, what I have tried to explain. One thing which I have forgotten here is references and citations are very critical part in research writing, research process. That's an ethical element which has to be followed by all the researchers. So please ensure in your report, in your presentations, you're including all references and citations of your literature review, that is from the secondary data which you have referred to. Thank you. Hope you like the video. Keep watching. Do like, share.